but this here is on the mark. Like a spiral from a 5-star recruit, we throwing darts, really focused. WD-40 couldn't stop the way we grinded. In the trenches, putting that work in, I relate to all my linemen. This is for the men, the boys do not belong here. Tiptoeing to the top, we doing cone drills. The hottest show in the world, you don't even gotta search. Steady putting in work, you see the sweat up on my shirt. They wasn't aware of us at first, we wasn't on their radar. Now every play that we make, they gon' say, oh, similar to a razor blade, we gon' stay sharp. The news ain't official if it's not on the mark.
What it do is Wednesday, the On Your Mark show, powered and sponsored by Epic Sports Apparel. Every play I compete. On Wednesdays, we're going to take you home. Man, I know that traffic is snarling. It's horrible out there. But listen, if you're tuning in, we appreciate it. Right from the Fishbowl Radio Network every week. Now, 6 o'clock. We used to be in the morning at 11. You might have been having brunch or, late coffee or something. But now you can hit your mark with me at 6 o'clock every Wednesday right here from the Fishbowl Radio Network. Man, well, let's dig into it. We're heading into week 3 here in the state of Texas. Texas high school football is at a peak. It's going down. We got some games we're going to wrap up from last week, and then we're going to talk about a couple of games this week, maybe a couple of guys that you need to know about around the state of Texas and the Metroplex. Again, man, go to OnTheMarkSports.com as well. You can check out the latest headlines and news, a little SMU football talk. Of course, the Mustangs go down 48-45 to Baylor last week. Of course, we cover Texas high school football as well as Tennessee high school football. Shout out to my guy Jay Pace, working hard for On The Mark Sports in the state of Tennessee. But man, let's back up a little bit and go to last week, week 2, the big game, the marquee game, or one of the marquee games that was on everybody's radar was the Duncanville South Oak Cliff game. It was a close game, closer than the experts thought. Now, some people may argue that the score 35-28 wasn't indicative of what the game was, but I think it was. I actually went back and watched the game, and I think that if there was more time and Sock had a chance to rebound from a couple of turnovers that they had earlier in the second half. They had a punt that was snapped over the punter's head, and a few miscues. I think they were right in this game. I think, we'll talk about their big game this week as well as they welcome in the Longview Lobos to Kincaid Stadium for a big-time contest. But they played well in the second half. I think, the largest the lead got was 29-7, and they rallied in the second half. One of the guys that I really want to talk about before we move on to the next game is Torrin Teague. I think he's starting to blossom into a playmaker and a guy that South Oak Cliff is relying on to do several things. He can play wide receiver. He's jumped at some Wildcat quarterback in the first 2 games. He's definitely a guy that can play on the special teams and make plays for you. He's a class of 2026 wide receiver. But this guy's got guts. He's got moxie. He's got everything that you want. He's gritty. He's a guy that's got the speed, the hands when it comes to being a receiver. But I just think he fits the bill as that plug-and-play type of player. And he's been one of those standouts for the South Oak Cliff Golden Bears in the first 2 weeks of the season. This guy can ball. I know he's got a couple of offers. I think Prairie View's on him and a couple more schools. But listen, college coaches, y'all need to get to Torrin Teague. Look, all you got to do is turn on the film. You know what I'm saying? This guy's been a playmaker for South Oak Cliff. He really carried them in that fourth quarter by making some big plays, hurdling guys. You know what I'm saying? So there's the explosiveness. If you want to see what he can do with that, he hurdled guys twice. And, these were first down type of plays and big runs. But I think Torrin Teague's one of those guys that, may have been flying under the radar when it comes to recruiting. But this guy's definitely paying dividends for the South Oak Cliff Golden Bears, and he's going to be a key guy to watch the rest of the season. But that offensive line played well in the second half. Bryson Brooks, Cortavius Tasby, and what's my guy's name? I know his name. He's one of the top. Brian Swanson. Sorry about that. Brian Swanson is one of the top 2027 offensive linemen in the state of Texas and nationally. All of these guys, they don't get the recognition that they should get because the big fellas do the grunt work. But they went up against probably one of the best defensive lines in the country, not just in the state of Texas. That features two Power Four type players in Landon Barnes and KJ Ford. And they got a couple of more guys on that defense. On that defensive line, this is probably one of the better defensive lines in the state of Texas for sure, if not the best, but definitely in the country as well. And Duncanville played well defensively, but as the South Oak Cliff Golden Bears started to wear down on them in that second half, you could see the second half adjustments that the South Oak Cliff coaches and defensively and offensively made to kind of get themselves back in the game. But on the flip side, this was the debut of junior quarterback Max Denson. He threw for 3 touchdowns. He was also making some plays with his feet. And you can see that as the game wore on that, Denson started to get more comfortable within the within the Duncanville offense. I think that he's going to be a guy that as he continues to play and get more reps, he's just going to get better. This guy, I think, has the talent to really play at the next level. He showed his speed. He's a track kid as well. But his ability to get the ball to the playmakers. Trenton Yancey had a big game. Of course, Zachary Turner, Ace and Theus, and those guys, were prominent. But I also thought the Duncanville offensive line played well. This was the first really good look. And this was a big test for the Panthers. And they came out in the first half, and they established themselves right away. I think that these set of Duncanville Panthers they're going to make a deep playoff run. It's going to be tough to beat them in 11-6A, and they showed it. They actually got a week off again this week. I think Duncanville only has 8 games on the season. But these guys are battle-tested. It goes all the way back up to the top with Coach Reginald Samples, a future Hall of Famer. He has these guys ready to play. Guys, like myself and, guys that I kind of hang around in this industry, we know what the offseason in Duncanville is like. And it shows off when they go out and play the type of football that they play. Physical, hard-nosed, in your face. It's a reason they call it locking the gates. But these guys played a pretty good game. But South Oak Cliff showed that they're a championship team, a championship program. The final score was 35-28. Levon Morton also had a couple touchdowns. Morton and Mikael Trotter, in my opinion, are probably the best tandem in the state. I don't care about what class. We're talking about tandem. There's a lot of great individual backs, but together they complement each other. They're like peanut butter and jelly. You know what I'm saying? They like, Snoop and Dre. You know what I'm saying? It just they fit what South Oak Cliff wants to do, and they are going to be a prominent team. I see those guys going back to state, honestly. From what I've seen the first couple of weeks, I was at the North Shore game, and I went back later on, I believe Friday night and early Saturday. I watched the game, the replay on Channel 8. I just wanted to get a sense of what they did against Duncanville, and they held their own. I thought that they played well in the second half. Like I said, a couple of miscues here and there on the special teams, a fumble that kind of set Duncanville up with a short field. Those are the type of things that can cost you a game, and they end up coming up short because of those things. After that, it was pretty much in the second half, it was blow for blow. The defense played well. South Oak Cliff started to kind of put some pressure on Denson, make him a little uncomfortable, having him moving off his spots a little bit. And he got some pressure on him when they started to bring the blitz. Cody Smith, a sophomore linebacker for South Oak Cliff, is going to be the next guy when it comes to that death row defense and that lineage of linebackers that they have at South Oak Cliff. He's a sophomore. He started his first game against North Shore and had a banger of a game, and he had another banger of a game this week. So, college coaches, this is a guy that you need to get on and start getting on him now. He's well coached, being under the tree of Dominique Spencer, Coach Todd, and Coach Kyle Ward over there. So this is going to be a guy that's going to be heavily recruited. We're talking about probably a guy that's going to end up being a 4-star recruit. He's just a young pup, but he's coming. But let's move on to the next game. Trinity, the Euless Trinity Trojans come out on top of Midland Legacy out West Texas. Trinity led 14-3 at halftime. The lead got up to 21-3, and then they finished off Legacy. But I think I talked about this a couple weeks ago. I had a chance to see Trinity take on North Crowley at a scrimmage, and I was very impressed. I expect them to be a playoff team. I expect them to challenge South Lake in that district. Now, I'm not saying they're going to beat them or win, but that's to be seen. But right now, it's a little early. It's still early in the season. But I think that Trinity is one of those teams that's going to be right there at the end when it comes to in that district. Mac Lineweaver's the junior quarterback. I was very impressed with him a couple of weeks ago when I saw him at the scrimmage, and I knew that they're going to be able to do some things. This was the first time we'd seen, and all of the guys, we kind of have these conversations on the sideline. We're gonna have to mic ourselves up because we have some interesting conversations about ball. You know what I'm saying? But anyway, seeing Trinity go 4 wides was something that you're not accustomed to seeing. Of course, they've been a great power running team, lean on that offensive line for years, for decades, and they have a running back in J.T. Harris that can get it done. But they got some guys that can catch the rock. Of course, they're going to be able to play defense as well. But Lineweaver, he's going to be the guy under center. He's the QB1 over there this year, junior. So that means he'll be back for a senior season. He can sling it. He's got some moxie to him. He's got some it factor to him. He can run a little bit, and he can make those plays out of the backfield from the quarterback position. So I expect Trinity to be a playoff team. They get the big win there. Now, another score that we'll talk about really quick, of course, we talked about North Shore coming up to take on South Oak Cliff last week. Well, they rebound. They take care of Crowley, who comes down from the DFW area 42-0. Of course, Caleb Marion, the Utah State commit, had a phenomenal game. He's the guy that kind of sets the tone for them offensively. Aubrey Johnson is another guy on the offensive side of the ball. It's a junior wide receiver that I was very impressed with when he played against South Oak Cliff. He had a big game. So, the Mustangs get back on the board. They still got some work to do because Summer Creek is playing very, very well down in the Houston area. So is Atascocita. So it's going to be a 3-team race. You can't count out Kingwood. You can't count out C.E. King as well. But I think in that district, it still runs through the Mustangs until it's proven. But Atascocita did play well. They took care of business last week as well, and so did Summer Creek. North Shore's going to have some challenges this year. Now, the Denton Guyer Wildcats bounced back from a tough loss to Aledo 21-14 in week 1, but they handled Arlington Martin 41-21. My guy, shout out to Caden Cobbs, 4 touchdowns on the ground. He's an Illinois commit. This guy can rush the rock. If that name sounds familiar, you remember his brother. You know what I'm saying? And they both pound the rock. He was one of my favorite running backs when he was playing, and now his little brother's taking on that mantra and rushing for the Cobbs family. They pound the rock. Shout out to my guy, Coach Cobbs, as well. They pound the rock for real. And I think that, we're going to talk about the big game this week. We're going to talk about the big game this week that involves North Crowley traveling up to Denton. That's going to be a marquee matchup. Definitely that'll have some statewide eyes on it as well as the DFW eyes on it. Aiden Martins had a 92-yard touchdown as well. Malik Mason had an 80 yards receiving for Martin. Now, the Martin program's falling on kind of hard times when you're used to these guys being a perennial playoff team and making deep playoff runs. They haven't been able to punch the state ticket. But they've kind of fallen on hard times when it comes to making playoff runs and making playoff appearances. I think, they'll have a chance to be a playoff team. They do have Jesse Ford, a TCU commit, on the defensive side of the ball, and some other guys that can play. So I like Martin being a playoff team coming out of the Arlington area when you talk about Bowie, Arlington High, Arlington Sam Houston, and those guys over there, GP and South Grand Prairie. You look at those 4 or 5 teams as possibly coming out of that particular district, but we'll see. We'll see what happens. But I like Guyer and where they're going. They played a tough Aledo team who held a great Lancaster team that I had a chance to see in week 1. They held them scoreless. I think it was 21 or 22-0. At home, Lancaster doesn't lose at home very often, and a goose egg, that's saying something. I think that Aledo team is really, really back. Defensively, they got some guys, but for Guyer to only score 14 points, it's tough to win in Aledo. Anybody that does this or covers high school football in the state of Texas know that it's very hard to win at Aledo. They haven't lost many games at home. And they didn't lose to Guyer the first week. And Guyer's a very good team, should be a playoff team over there in that particular district. Now, their district foe, a team that they're going to have to face, that's the Louisville Fighting Farmers. They had a big game on Thursday. It was an early game of the week. I had a chance to see that game, and they beat Byron Nelson 38-21. Troy Williams had a phenomenal game, 5 touchdowns, almost 300 yards passing. Trajan Mueller is a guy that you need to know about, wide receiver over there. He had a monster game, as well as Tanel Hill running the rock. I think that offensive line, it's one of the best in the Metroplex. They were physical against a very stout Byron Nelson team. Byron Nelson's going to be a playoff team as well. And for Byron Nelson, you have to look at Parker Lamonza as the guy that's going to carry him. Now, if you know who Parker Lamonza is, he's a 3-star tight end that's going to Baylor. He's already committed to Baylor, but he was actually under the center. He was playing QB. That shows his athleticism, his ability to make adjustments. And he was slinging a peel. He was making big-time throws like he played quarterback all his life. I was amazed by that. He had 3 touchdowns passing on the night, and I thought that he kept them in the game. But I think Louisville, that offense, after they got kind of clicking and got rolling behind Williams and his outstanding play. Trey Williams is a junior quarterback, probably one of the better quarterbacks in the area, regardless of class. And he's going to be a reason that Louisville has a chance to make a playoff run. I think in that district, which features them and Geyer, I mean, those will be the two teams at the top, and everybody else is going to be chasing them. But I think that Louisville has a shot to be good this year. Right now they're undefeated, and they got some young guys. Landon Boggety, is a kind of a hybrid guy. He's a wide receiver, tight end. He had a couple of touchdowns on the night, and so they can spread the ball around. Then they can mash you with the run game with Hill, hiding behind that big offensive line. So, they lost Michael Fasusi to Oklahoma. He's graduated, and he actually started this week against Michigan. So, I don't see any letdown in that offensive line. They kind of breed offensive linemen over there at Louisville, and the proof is in the pudding. If you go back and see that game, I had a chance to see it, and they were physical up front. Another game that we had an eye on was Denton Ryan taking on Mansfield Timberview, and the Ryan defense. Shout out to Cookie Warmade. He's a guy that on that defensive line that gets it done. Junior John Catlin Jr. He was a contributor, blocked 2 extra points. Fumble recovery, and a pick. So Ryan's in that district with Richland and Aledo. Those are going to be the 3 teams or 2 teams in Ryan and Richland that could possibly challenge Aledo in that particular district. Aledo hadn't lost a district game in like 30 years. You know what I'm saying? I mean, it's ridiculous how consistent the Bearcats have been in district. And Ryan beat them in the playoffs last year, but they lost to them in district. So, it's going to be something to see with those 3 teams in that particular district. I think that, shout out to my guy Jason Gibson over there at Richland High School, top 2027 running back, definitely in the state of Texas, in my opinion. He's a big physical guy with speed. He's had a couple of good games coming out. So when it comes to stopping that guy, I think that the Aledo defense and the Ryan defense, they're going to have their hands full. Richland's got a very good team under Coach Jed Cates over there. They usually have a playoff caliber team. But Jason Gibson's going to be the guy toting the pill for that. He's a big-time running back prospect. He's got an offer for TCU and a couple of more schools. But I really like what Gibson's been doing here this year, and he's going to be the guy to carry the load over there for Richland. Walnut Grove got a big victory over Little Lamb, 49-24. Shout out to Cam Newton. Listen, college coaches, if you're watching this, Cam Newton is the truth. He's one of the better backs in the 2026 class in the state of Texas, 283 yards and 5 touchdowns. He went over 2,000 yards last year as a junior. And he catches the football. He's got the acceleration, the quickness, got a killer jump cut. And once he gets in the open field, man, you're not catching this guy. Not many guys can walk this guy down. He's got the juice, and he's got the ability to play at the next level. And he's got some offers from a few schools, Samuelson State, a couple of schools up north. But I think this kid can play Power 4 football. You get this kid on campus, he's going to work his tail off. And when he gets in the weight room inside of a college weight room, he's going to be one of those guys that accelerates in strength, and he's going to get faster. But he's a great receiver out of the backfield. Hayes Hackney had a good game as well. I think 170 yards passing and a touchdown. And Hayden Cooley, 2027 wide receiver. He's a guy that you need to keep an eye on as well. Walnut Grove's 2-0. And listen, Little Lamb's a pretty good team this year. They got some guys over there that can play. But Walnut Grove's in that tough district in 5A Division II with Anna, Melissa, Lovejoy. That's going to be some interesting, down the stretch in that district to see what happens. And I think Walnut Grove's, to me, they're in the running seat behind, with Anna close behind. Then you got to worry about Melissa and Lovejoy. But right now, from what you're seeing from Walnut Grove, they look like they're coming back to repeat as district champions. They went undefeated, made a deep playoff run with a young team, and most of those guys are back. They got a big-time linebacker in Hatcher as well. They got some guys that can go over there. But Cam Newton is the guy. He's the guy that totes the rock. They got a big offensive line. I think that Walnut Grove is going to be a playoff team again. And the fits they've been, man, shout out to Walnut Grove. Walnut Grove, wherever y'all getting these fits at, y'all fits been fired the last 2 weeks. You know what I'm saying? They had an away fit and the home fit. They clean. They looking good over there. When you look good, you play good, right? You know what I'm saying? So I like what Walnut Grove's doing, and they're a team to watch over there in that Prosper area. Now, the last but not least, this is the game that we were at on Friday night. That was the North Crowley-DeSoto game. It ended up being 36-27. And listen, I really liked – I'm going to start with DeSoto first because everybody was on DeSoto's head about getting shellacked at Creekview in Georgia, 70-28. And when I look at that score and knowing that program, Coach Mathis and those guys over there, Coach Sweeney and some other guys over there that I know pretty well from the years of covering DeSoto, I just knew that was out of character for that particular program. And I thought, hey, they got to snap back. So when you get to the game, you kind of see these guys kind of snapping back into it. And they played a pretty good game. They played a pretty clean game as well. And they were in this game. Now, the last 2 weeks here in the state of Texas, if you know anything about high school football, have been horrible with weather. The weather's been horrible. We had another delay. The first week we had a delay. The second week we had a delay. We're in the middle of the game, and we have to stop the game for lightning. I think it was almost 2 hours we waited this out. And shout out to the coaching staff. Shout out to Coach Gates and Coach Mathis. Both of those teams and both of those programs wanted to play and finish this game. And we were all standing around, and they were adamant about finishing this game for their kids and for their programs. We were talking about 2 state championship caliber programs, 2 state championship coaches, and they bleed football. They wanted to get this game in. And we waited around. We finally got it in, and it was a banger of a game in the second half. Keontae Ingram had over 200 yards, 2 touchdowns rushing. He's a junior running back. Listen, I really I've seen Ingram since he was a pup, when he was a freshman. Seen him, over the years in 7-on-7. And I expected to see him flourish like that this year. But to see him, when you see this guy, tote the rock, he's got everything that you want in a running back. He's a great receiver. He runs with a great forward lean. He's on his toes. He can cut. He's got a jump cut. And he'll run you over. He keeps his pad level low. You're not going to get a great shot on this guy. He kind of reminds me of Marc Ingram, kind of an Emmitt Smith type guy, with the way he's built, but just a little bit more shifty in a burst. He had a great game, and he kind of carried the load. Also, Jaden Shaw. I call him the closer. The entire final drive, he really stepped up. 2 TDs, a couple of 2-point conversions. But just that final drive, that offensive line took over. They took over, and they kind of wore down the defensive front for DeSoto. No run, all runs, no passes, just straight wildcat. And this guy's a tight end as well, but he got in that wildcat position, and he just toted the pill. He ran the rock down their throat, and they scored a final touchdown to kind of, seal the deal. But he played phenomenal. He played great. He's a senior over there. He's got a couple of schools looking at him, but listen, college coaches, you got to look at a guy like this that's versatile. Talking about a guy that's about 6'2", maybe 210. When he gets to school, he continue to grow and get big. He can be a guy, to kind of come in and make those plays for you. But, shout out to Coach Gates and his staff for really trusting the running game. They got back in this game. They were down for a little bit, and DeSoto jumped out to a lead early. But for DeSoto, a couple of guys that stood out to me were junior quarterback LaMarcus Summers. This was his opportunity to start. He played well, used his feet, made a couple of big throws. The biggest throw of the game for him was a back shoulder throw to Antron Edmondson. Edmondson is a guy, a senior wide receiver that can play at the next level. he's definitely going to be a guy that can definitely play at the next level. He's got great hands, ability to get off of press coverage, which is something they did to him. They tried to press him. He really stacks defenders well, but the hands and the awareness and the ability to track the ball. His big play was that fade ball, the back shoulder fade over a very they got some very good corners over there at North Crowley, and he made a big time catch. Of course, USC commit Booby Feaster. It's the first time we got a chance to see him play on both sides of the ball since he was a pup, since he was a jet. You know what I'm saying? We know he can play on both sides of the ball. I've seen him do it when he was playing as a youngster. He played some cornerback, made a couple of big plays, also returned some kicks, had a couple of big catches. But Booby Feaster is Booby Feaster. We expected that from him. He had a pretty good game. Now, they didn't get the outcome that they wanted in DeSoto's 0-2, but they got some bright spots. Also, I was really impressed with Sherrod Baker, the 2027 running back. I think he's an elite rusher, definitely a 2027 class. I think, he's a guy that can play at the next level. Of course, he's got offers. He's a double-digit offer guy, but his ability to change directions, he even jumped in and played some quarterback and threw a few passes himself. Like, he's a true athlete. I think, last year he had to share the spotlight with Myson Johnson-Cook, but now he's squared up. He's the running back. He's the featured running back. And you saw him go against a really good defense in North Crowley, one of probably the top defenses in the area and definitely in the state. That features some guys that are going to play on Saturday. He was doing his thing. He got in the end zone as well. But Sherrod Baker is a guy. 24 rushes for 160 yards and a touchdown. Edmondson had 3 catches for 106 and a tutty. So, I mean, DeSoto's got some stuff that they got to clean up. DeSoto's going to be fine. Redmond on the defensive side of 2027, D lineman played well also. But I think DeSoto's going to be fine. I saw something and was reading something this week. Probably one of the better 0-2 teams in the state. Like, you're not going to just roll over DeSoto. And they proved that this week going against the defending champs. I look at that first loss as something that they can flush down the toilet. This was a better game. This is what I kind of went to see. I wanted to see, check their temperature a little bit to see exactly what's going on with them. And that, hey, they're not going to fight to the end because Coach Mathis he's one of those competitors as well. And a lot of times teams take on the personality of their coach. So I expected DeSoto to play well, and they did. They were in the lead for a little while. But North Crowley fought back. Their championship pedigree came out. That Coach Gates and Coach Harris, shout out to my guy Coach White and those guys over there. They get it done, and they got a big one this week, and we're gonna talk about that in just a little bit. But for what they did and able to come back in a 2-hour lightning delay, that's something said for both teams. They came back out and competed. Another guy that had an outstanding game was Elijah Houston. He's a safety in the 2027 class, probably one of the top safeties in the state. He had an interception. Now, it was called back. He took it all the way back to the house for 6, but it was called back on a penalty. But you saw all of the athleticism, the ability to make cuts. He turned into an offensive player, you know what I'm saying? And he got in the end zone. Another guy on the defensive side that stood out for North Crowley was Amaj Mitchell. He's a senior linebacker. Like, he can come down, you know what I mean? He's what you want to see at the linebacker position. 6'2", I think about 215 pounds. He was in the middle of that D. He was in the middle of the ruckus all night. And he's a guy that definitely stood out to me in that particular game. But I think that North Crowley's going to be fine. A lot of people are saying, they don't have the same firepower. Teams change every year. Their identities change every year. And that's something that every coach has to go through. It's not going to be the same team year in and year out. Of course, they're missing, some of the explosiveness that they had with Jemerson, Bray, and of course, Quentin Gibson. All those guys are playing on Saturdays now for a reason. But the cupboard's not bare at North Crowley. Jarrell Smith's another guy. He was out this week, but he's a guy that I saw in week 1 that can tote that rock. He and Ingram are going to be a pretty good tandem as well. You got Jeremy Cooper as well. It's a big-time tight end prospect. Then, of course, you got the Longhorn commit and John Turnertown III holding down that tackle spot. Another guy on the offensive line that stood out for me for North Crowley was Tyree Fleming. Physical. He's only a junior. He played guard. Physical nastiness to his game. I watched him, make some pancake blocks. He was serving them up like like IHOP for real. You know what I'm saying? The Tyree Fleming's a guy in the junior class over there that's going to be back. He's going to be a leader for those guys. So, man, I think that, we saw some really good football out of those two teams, and I think those teams will have something to say in their particular districts when they come out. But, hey, this is what you do, man. Week 2, you kind of start to see some of the big fellas flex their muscles. But, week 3, we got a couple of games that we're going to have an eye on. We're going to talk about that. We're going to take a small break here, right here on Your Mark Show. Definitely tap in. Shout out to my guy, Jay Pace, tuning in. Listen, man, hit the comments up, man. If you got questions, I can answer them real quick. Also, man, let me know where you're tuning in from, man. Tap in with the On Your Mark Show each week right here, 6 o'clock. Man, we driving you home now instead of 11. You know what I'm saying, in the daytime. But we're going to take a small break. And we'll come back and talk about some games that we got our eye on here in the state of Texas and definitely in DFW in week 3 right here on the On Your Mark Show. What it do? Mark Henry here from the On Your Mark Show, powered and sponsored by Epic Sports Apparel. Every play I compete each week, live from the Fishbowl Radio Network studios from 11 to 12. But if you miss us, hop on to the On Your Mark Show YouTube channel. Click, like, and subscribe. The same heat that we bring on Wednesdays, you'll see it on the On Your Mark Show YouTube channel. Check us out, tap in, like, and subscribe. Myself and Coach Jay and our past guests and the guests from each week will be on the On Your Mark Show YouTube channel. Check us out. And we'll see you each week, every Wednesday from 11 to 12, live from the Fishbowl Radio Network. Man, we appreciate you tapping in on Your Mark Show. Now it's 6 o'clock every week, still in the Fishbowl Radio Network. Man, listen, if you've been on the Fishbowl Radio Network Facebook page, you see some other great shows, man. Shout out to everybody that has a show on the Fishbowl Radio Network. The Sharkies are on the way. I got the email today. Hey, it's time to get us in now. We're eligible now to be show of the year. We've been in the best sports show the last 2 years. We're going to take that again this year as well. But, hey, we can be best overall show. We want to get our picture hung up out in the hallway, man. So tap in, man. You'll see it start to go out here in the next couple of weeks. It'll start September 15th. You can vote for the On Your Mark Show as your favorite show on the Fishbowl Radio Network. But let's talk about some of these rankings here coming out for week number 3. Of course, in 6A, South Lake Carroll's number 1. North Crowley's going to be number 2 for me. Duncanville's number 3. Allen, Summer Creek, which we talked about in the Houston area. Noah Spinks, man, he had a phenomenal game. Benny Easter and those guys over there. Listen, Summer Creek's got a really good team. They could be getting back to state. Now, the thing about them is they didn't finish it the last time they made it. They've been a playoff team, but they're one of the top teams in the state of Texas, definitely in the H for sure. Tascasitas coming in right behind them, Fort Bend Ridge Point. I've been talking about these guys. I'm telling you, Fort Bend Ridge Point, Avery Merkel and company, they got a big-time offensive line over there, and they got some guys on the defensive side that can play. Robert and Romare Smith, 2 of the better defensive linemen in the state of Texas. Fort Bend Ridge Point's loaded, man. I really like them coming out of the H, coming out of Houston as a playoff team. They got a big game this week against Bridgeland. Shout out to running back Cash Schwab. Listen, if you saw the game against Duncanville last year in the playoffs, the guy that was ripping those big runs was Cash Schwab. He's only a junior, but he ran that peel last year. You know what I'm saying? And you saw him, against a really good Duncanville defense, kind of make some plays. And he's back for Bridgeland this year. But, man, I really think that those guys know that they got a good team. That's going to be a big-time game down in the H. If you're watching some of my guys down in the H, you definitely got to pull up to that one. I'm telling you, that's going to be a big-time game for sure. Lake Travis is 8. You got Trinity at 9, and then the Dickinson Gators, man. Shout out to Lorenzo Aguiar, the QB1 over there as a junior. He's been really slinging the peel. He's a guy that you definitely need to know in the 2027 class. He's making some noise for Dickinson down there. And he has been he's been one of the top quarterbacks in the H in the first couple of weeks. But I think that Dickinson's in a tough district. Of course, they got Shadow Creek and all those guys over there, Pearland. That's a tough district. They're going to have their hands full, but I think they can do it. I really like what they've been doing and what Aguiar's been doing in the first couple of weeks. Alito's number 1 in 5A Division I. They listen. The Alito's Alito. They could be back to making a run at the state title. They kind of fell in on hard times last year and missed the playoff. Well, they didn't miss the playoffs. They missed going to state. Didn't Ryan beat them in a great contest? It was like rainy and cold and everything. Just playoff football. And both teams were slugging it out, but at the end, Ryan got the best of them when it counted. Now, Aledo beat Ryan in the district matchup, but then they lost to him in the playoffs. But listen, they're playing at a high level defensively and offensively. They got their big offensive line, and they got a running back, Caden Winkfield. And they got Caden Finley on the outside at wide receiver. So, they got the guys to make this run. They just got to continue to do it. They got a game against Brewer this week. For all intents and purposes, we like Aledo in that game, honestly. Brewer hadn't beat Aledo in a long, long time. You know what I mean? So I hadn't seen the Brewer Bears this year, but, with Aledo, the way they're playing, they played Guyer and they played Lancaster, both two very, very good teams in the state of Texas, not just in the DFW, but in the state of Texas. I saw Lancaster week 1, and for them to hang up a goose egg on Lancaster, that defense is swarming. They're doing some things over there. Frisco Lone Star is a great squad. Shout out to my guy, Carice Hoyt over there. He's been playing some phenomenal football. Probably one of the best overall athletes, not just players, overall athletes in the state of Texas in the 2027 class. I really think that Lone Star has a chance to be make a deep playoff run. Maybe even challenge for a state title. 5A Division I is loaded. You got Smithson Valley. You got Ryan, LaPorte out of the H, Angleton. Shout out to the Highland Park Scots as well. They finally got a win. They lost in the beginning in week 1. But Buck Randall had a phenomenal game. Buck Randall's a junior quarterback that's over there slinging it, man. And Buck Randall led Highland Park to a state championship appearance last year, but they fell short. So, the Scots are going to be back. I think that this is a team you need to know about in the DFW area. But I'm going to tell you another team that I like out of Central Texas, out of the Austin area. That's Pflugerville Weiss. Shout out to my guy Jackson Shad over there. He's a sophomore quarterback. He started as a freshman last year. SMU and Houston are very high on this guy, especially SMU. They're very high on Jackson Shad. They are 2-0 on the season. They got a big win over San Marcos and a big win in week 1 over Round Rock McNeil. They got an A&M consolidated this week. But Weiss is a team, man. It's a team that you need to know about coming out of Central Texas. Last year, I think they got beat in the first round of the playoffs. But I think this is a team that can definitely make some noise. A lot of times in their first round matchup, they get a team coming out of DFW. So it's always hard to beat the teams out of DFW, and we ain't going to lie about that. DFWs, when it comes to state titles, they reign supreme right now. All of the state titles run through the DFW. You feel me? So it's one of those things where they end up getting a matchup, and they don't match up well with teams coming out of DFW. But Trey Moore is a standout receiver for these guys. He can go get it. He's probably one of the heavy recruited receivers in the state of Texas. They got Big Gerald Mays on the offensive line as well. It's a Texas Tech commit. So they got some guys over there that can play. And they got a freshman on the D-line, Jarrell Scott. You're going to hear this name. He's starting as a freshman in the trenches in a 5A for a 5A school. So I'm telling you right now, Jarrell Scott, he's going to be probably a 4-star recruit by the time he finishes. But he's a guy that's been making some plays on that D-line. It's hard to start as a freshman, but to make plays in the D-line as a freshman in Texas high school football, that's saying something. So he's a guy that you definitely want to know and get on your radars when you talk about recruits for Pflugerville Weiss. But I think that these guys have an opportunity to be a playoff team, and definitely a team that you want to know about in the state of Texas when it comes to big-time recruits as well. But just the overall good team. They're 2-0 on the season. Now let's talk about 5A D2. Now, last week I had South Oak Cliff number 1 with that big win over North Shore. But I got them number 2 this week. They played very, very well against Duncanville, so they're not gonna fall far. But they got a big game this week, and we're gonna talk about that game after we talk about where we got these teams ranked. Richmond Randall, of course, they're playing phenomenal football, but they got a big game this week. Fort Bend Travis has been playing well, and Travis is going to give them everything they want. Of course, they're in the same district with Iowa Colony, and I think that game is either September 24th or 25th. I'm pulling up for that one. I got to go see what's going down Iowa Colony's got a great team, and they play a district game against another great team, a state champion in the Ryan. Excuse me, not Ryan, but Richmond Randall. Man, listen, Richmond Randall's phenomenal, and so is Iowa Colony. For a regular season game, you can't beat that. So you can't hit that in the head with a stick. You can't hit nobody with that. I'm going. You know what I'm saying? Jaden Warren, Carson White. Man, I'm pulling up. You know what I'm saying? I want to see this Iowa Colony Randall game in person. I definitely expect both teams to be undefeated when they come into that. I definitely think it's going to be for the district title, and that's a couple of weeks away. But I already got my eyes on that. I'm in H-Town for that one for sure. You know what I'm saying? It's going down. I will be in the building for that. You ain't got to worry about that. I'm pulling up. You know what I'm saying? That's going to be a big-time game around the state that week. But I think that, both teams have a great opportunity to make a state run. It's going to be who comes out of that district, as the number one seed. And then they met again. It's another thing. They on a crash course to meet in the fourth round of the playoffs. Who's going to come out of the H? Who's going to come out of Region 3? You know what I'm saying? It's going to be between those two in 5AD2. You know what I'm saying? You definitely want to see that matchup. But, as far as teams in 5AD2 go, Brenham's a good squad as well. Texarkana High. I've been trying to see Texarkana for the last couple of years. You know what I'm saying? I've been wanting to see my guy Tredarian Ball in person. And they're going to make me drive to Texarkana is what they're going to make me do. I've been waiting for them, and they losing the round. They lose before they come to the DFW or come this way or play a little closer. You know what I'm saying? But I got to pull up on Texas High, man, for real. You know what I'm saying? I think this is one of the better teams in 5AD2 for sure. Definitely want to get a chance to see Tredarian Ball in person. I've seen him in 7-on-7, but I hadn't seen him in pads in person. I've seen him in 7-on-7 on multiple occasions, but I want to see him run that rock. You know what I'm saying? Fort Bend, Marshall, P&G, Port Neches Groves, Argyle, Anna, and Alamo Heights round out. And I'm getting these rankings from Dave Campbell's Texas football rankings. That's where they got these guys lined up right now. But let's talk about a couple of big games before we get out of here. And this is a game that we're going to pull up on Friday night, and that's South Oak Cliff welcoming in the Longview Lobos. Now, SOC is one of the better teams in 5A Division II, and you got Longview, who's ranked in 6A. Now, last year, South Oak Cliff went down to East Texas, and if you haven't ever been to a game in Longview, it's like I would assume they call Georgia between the hedges. That's what it's like. Everything's green around this Lobo Stadium, and there's a guy I don't know who it is, but there's a guy that's howling and the whole game, the entire game, howling in a megaphone. You know what I'm saying? They really take this Lobo up thing really serious when you come down to play in Lobo Stadium. It's big time. It's one of those places where you got to go see a game, a real game. You know what I'm saying? A real contest, somebody that's going to challenge Longview. And the home field advantage for Longview is they have on the home side is nothing but season ticket holders. So unless you're a season ticket holder, general admission doesn't get there. So on the home side, it's nothing but Longview season ticket holders. Then they put you on the visitor side. They got a small spot for the visitors. They got the Longview band, and then they got general admission. But they put the visiting fans between the band and the general admission. So they got you boxed in. They literally got you boxed in as a away team. And I saw this with my own eyes, and I thought that was so dope. You know what I'm saying? That's a home field advantage for real. You know what I'm saying? Shout out to my guy Raymond Wesley. You know what I'm saying? You think Iowa Colony are going to beat them in the playoffs but lose in the season. They kind of had, yeah. You're right, Raymond Wesley. They recorded Texas High converted their receiver to quarterback, the lefty. Yeah, I've seen him a little bit of his tape. But all he got to do is get the ball to the playmakers. So they got a nice offensive line at Texas High. The defense is where they kind of been giving up a little bit. They've been giving up quite a few points they have on the defensive side. But I did see that they moved their wide receiver to the quarterback position. But, they gave up 43 to Tyler Legacy, and they gave up 37 points defensively to Argyle Liberty Christian last week. Both wins, they got to outscore people. So that's where they've been kind of falling on hard times is the defensive side. And they got some guys on D that can go. It's just that they've given up a lot of points. And they're ending up winning these games, Raymond. That's a great point. But I think they'll be a playoff team. It's whether they can come back this way. I just driving to Texarkana, I just ain't been interested in it. I mean, I can go. I just hadn't been able to do it because I'm always finding some other games to go to. But I do want to see Texas High. Shout out to Raymond Wesley for the comment. Appreciate that, big dog. Shout out to my guy, Jay Pace. Listen, man, if you got questions real quick or you got a comment, man, we appreciate you watching us. You appreciate you tuning in. This episode will be up on the On Your Mark Show YouTube channel today as well. Check that out. And also go check out OnTheMarkSports.com, man. We got the latest headlines. We got some stuff on SMU. We're going to have some college football as well as high school football from the state of Tennessee as well as Texas high school football. We got some ladies and some guys working with us. We're going to shout out to all of them. Bailey Sheffield as well. That's been contributing on TheMarkSports.com as well as Jay Pace. But listen, we got some things cooking, man. Go to OnTheMarkSports.com. I'm going to post a link here while I get ready to talk about this next game as well. But the other game that we'll be looking at is the Denton-Guyer-Crowley game. Now, last year, North Crowley kind of jumped out on Denton-Guyer so quick and so fast. For sure, they didn't have time to recover. But this year, I shout out to my guys at Third Down Media, man. Check out Third Down Media on YouTube. The fresh episode is an interview with Hayes Hackney and Cam Newton from Walnut Grove. Go to Third Down Media on YouTube right now. You can check out that latest episode. But talking more about this game, I think that this is going to be a contest where you're going to have to play some really good defense. Caden Cobbs is going to get the rock for Denton-Guyer. He had 4 touchdowns last week, so that means that they want to play defense and keep those guys off the field. Now, on the flip side, North Crowley can run the rock as well. They ran it down DeSoto's throat at the end of the game to finish it off with Jaden Shaw. They can do a number of things. DeMarcus Harris also came in and played some good minutes. He threw a touchdown pass. So, I mean, you got to look at this as a contest between two juggernauts, two teams that are going to be playoff teams at the end of the day, and we know that they're going to bring it. We know that those coaching staffs are going to have those guys ready to play as well. But I think that this is a game. If I'm looking at it, I like both teams. Of course, I know a lot of teams. I know a lot of players and coaches on both teams, but. It's going to be a close game. Shout out to my guys at Third Down Media. We had a running joke a couple of weeks ago. We talked about this game, and that episode will be coming out shortly. I'm pretty sure they're going to release if it goes the Guyer way, they're going to release it probably Friday. But if it goes the North Crowley way, it might not come out to maybe later on. But shout out to my guy Creative Jones and Hammer. We kind of had a huddle up about who's going to win this game, and I liked North Crowley in the game, and Hammer, of course, liked Denton-Guyer in the game. So we got kind of a running bet going there, and that'll be a game that we'll all have eyes on for sure. But, I think that, Guyer showed this week that they can bounce back from a tough loss on the road. North Crowley's got to go to Denton. It's going to be a big-time affair. It's going to be a big-time game. Another big game that before I get out of here is Richardson going to Lake Ridge. Lake Ridge is undefeated. Shout out to my guy Cotton who's been running that peel over there. You know what I'm saying? He's been running that peel. He's a guy in the running back position they're going to have to account for. But Richardson's got one of the best defensive tackles in the country, and Jamie Winfield's a USC commit. This guy's been almost unblockable. How that offensive line deals with him is going to be the key. Of course, Felix Ojo, the Texas Tech commits on the offensive line for Lake Ridge. That's going to be a really good game. You know what I'm saying? Argyle taking on Mansfield Timberview is going to be a really good game as well. Shout out to my guy KP over at the Can. Shout out to Kevin Porter Jr. for the big game, over 300 yards and multiple touchdowns. He's definitely a quarterback, 2026 quarterback you need to watch at Corsicana. But listen, man, we out of time today. That's all we got for you. This episode is going to be up shortly on the On Your Mark Show YouTube channel. We appreciate everybody for tapping in, man. Listen, go to OnTheMarkSports.com and check out the latest and greatest, the latest headlines. Listen, all you got to do is scroll to the bottom, put your email, put your first and last name, and every time we release something, Every time we drop a new article, it's going to be on there at onthemarksports.com. But that's all we got for you today. Follow me on Twitter at MarkHen44, on Instagram at Marc, MARC_HEN44. Man, we appreciate you tapping in with us. Shout out to my guy, Man and Mike, on the cut here, man, and Scott Rapp on the visuals. We out.
Hey, this Manna Mike. I'm not sure what you own, but this here is on the mark. Like a spiral from a 5-star recruit, we throwing darts, really focused. WD-40 couldn't stop the way we grinded. In the trenches, putting that work in, I relate to all my linemen. This is for the men, the boys do not belong here. Tiptoeing to the top, we doing cone drills. The hottest show in the world, you don't even gotta search. Steady putting in work, you see the sweat up on my shirt. They wasn't aware of us at first, we wasn't on their radar. Now every play that we make, they gon' say, oh, similar to a razor blade, we gon' stay sharp. The news ain't official if it's not on the mark.